case 1270 and case 288 are the same person. I believe that's what I heard.
Okay.
Case 12. Say it again.
Hello?
We're here.
Waiting.
Who's first?
We're not sure yet.
Oh,
Nobody's
okay.
here.
No.
Oh,
Who's second?
Who's on
Oh,
first?
what's first?
Who's on first?
Are these all supposed to be call-ins or what?
Two of them are in person, one's an affidavit. For the, wait a second. Scroll it here.
Yeah, the first
There's only
three,
three,
just the
8:30.
first page is 8:30.
Oh, that's what they meant. Walker's coming in. 505 and 567 or 767. This is probably. Oh, sorry about that.
It's interesting, so many people talk about the virus as being a problem with Texas this year, not realizing that we didn't know.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see next month, and then it's like, whoa, how is this all?
I was just listening to the news, came over and talking about how bad Texas is, especially right now, South Texas. And people are-
And I wonder why, I wonder, is it people, I just don't know. I mean, is it people who know?
This is how it's moved around the country, you know.
And Charlie, I know you were asking about school. So now they're gonna, last thing, but it keeps changing constantly. They're gonna, I hadn't read it, that they're gonna do the 3 weeks. Is that what it said? Online. And then they'll make a decision.
Apparently, the governor's given everybody the opportunity to do that, 3 or 4. And then if the schools do open, parents can still.
Yeah, you make a decision whether your child stays home for the 9 weeks or goes to school for 9 weeks. After the 3, it'll be then 6. But it's every 9 weeks. So your child can either stay home or go to school, but whatever you pick, you're consistent once you start with that program. For every 9 weeks. So you could do the first one in school, the second one at home. It's just.
And they said, I think, if I read it correctly, I think that sports, then even if you're at home, or whatever, you can still play sports.
That's gonna be a huge mess to see how that all works out.
It's hard to tackle somebody when they're at home.
I don't know about football. I think track and other things.
Yeah, you have a point there, Scott. I can't even come up with a comeback.
You know, the tennis teams and teams where there isn't more contact. Like I said, track, tennis, and baseball so much. play sports. I assume they're playing and having some sports.
Yeah, some football teams are practicing.
At least one of the
College
college conferences said they were gonna play only in-conference games.
for the NFL, NHL, and NFL.
College.
Now, the
Oh,
Big Ten.
college.
Yeah, football, football and basketball.
No, hockey.
It's gonna be, I mean, you're touching each other,
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna be, just imagine the whole idea of tackling, like, you breathe in, you're on top of somebody, breathing, sweat's mixing up with as you're doing this, and mouth guard comes out and spits.
Spit and nostril juice and
It's just all of it. I mean, it's a pretty, people say it's a contact sport. It's a collision sport. It's a very in your face sport.
My grandson was.
Oh yeah, that's just.
And
Oh,
I've seen,
man.
I've seen Facebook and Instagrams around there all the time with them practicing. And just like you said, somebody will score a goal, they all hug and stick their face too far out, and, they're going to play short time. I don't remember playing it.
Well, and then you got those parents like Mike who sit in the stands and scream and yell, see? So
Well, they don't
his
compete,
screaming and yelling, it's coming down upon the quiet people like me
That's
who
right.
just sit
Oh, please, please.
and like all those.
Thank you, Ramona, for coming to my defense.
Are you
No, she say, please stop, is what she
No,
would
she didn't. No,
say.
she wasn't. She was affirming what everybody else in the stands knows. Oh, there's Cindy.
Do you think Cindy's ever quiet?
I am.
You're gonna
Not in the stands at a football game.
Well, Cindy was very quiet. Nobody ever said.
Oh,
No, I mean, I wasn't
Yeah.
saying about that, but
I,
but I mean, think about it. People in the stands, they yell. And so that's all that.
that last game when we went to not Victoria but Beeville, and I called two things right before they happened. I go, ooh, I said turnover twinge, and everybody goes, because I have this really strange knack of feeling when a turnover is coming. Like it's just like everything's set up right. And sure enough, 2 times I called it, and 2 times it happened.
Stop doing that.
It's just,
Don't do it.
well, it was good because we were on defense.
Oh,
We
okay.
wanted the turnover. So,
So we do have in-person is come, and then they went back to get a mask, and they'll be here.
oh, I need to get Max.
They'll be here in just a moment with the 2 properties, and the other person is on the phone, and they're working them through that. So we'll be a minute or 2. And
We'll do the on the phone one before we go back inside.
they're not ready yet.
Oh,
Are they loading their info?
I don't know. They just didn't say. I just asked that. They told me, and they said that the person will be.
Okay.
well,
Lucy doing, Ramona?
huh?
How's Miss Lucy doing?
Good. She decided she wasn't going to work this morning, so I had to let her in.
What was she like? Was she in the bed going,
No, she was out running in the yard, and she went and loaded up in the truck with Mike. So
Oh, she wanted to stay home with Mom.
yeah.
Can I help you today, Ramona? Where's her little apron?
She's up passed out probably now.
Well, it is a person. It's just a 4-legged person that happens to look a bit like a dog. But she's cute as she can be.
Well, let's go ahead and sit there. We'll open the meeting. The
I think we're rocking already, right, Scott?
Aransas County Appraisal Review Board is July the 21st at 8:05. We have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
We have a quorum.
Mr. Walker is here.
Hey, Travis, we're gonna be right over there, buddy.
Right there.
The whole social distancing thing.
We do have a tablet. Starting with 5:05.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just a minute.
Travis, I represent the district, and these individuals right over, they represent the board. They're gonna be hearing your case today. He's gonna go through some paperwork here.
Okay. Opening the hearing on case ID 2020-505, account 29656. Administrative time. This hearing is being recorded. Any protest today? We're all sitting around the table here except for one who's on via Zoom. So you're out there. We do not work for the appraisal district. We are appointed to perform an independent review of your project and complete a survey on your experience. Survey may be completed using survey form and email to ptad.communications@cpa.texas.gov or surveymonkey.com/r/surveyarb. Survey is voluntary, but we do encourage you to take it. You also have the right to appeal our decision. Appeal information will be provided to you with our determination. In accordance with Tax Code Section 4145H, all written material that has not been provided must be provided at this time. Do we have all your evidence in the system?
I believe I handed it over to the.
Okay, super. ARB members who are considering the protest have not communicated with anyone about the protest and are signing an affidavit to that effect. I, Charles Hart, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 4166F.
I, Kathy Hoffman, do solemnly swear that I've not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66F.
I, Cindy Duck, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of 4066F.
I, Robert Davis, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66.
I, Ramona LeBlanc, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66F, and I'm signing to that effect, and I'm physically located in Texas.
Paparazzi moderating on minutes and answer via Zoom. I also am located in Texas.
My name is Michael Soto. I do solemnly swear I represent the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District, correct?
Testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath. Yeah.
I do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony I shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
Thank you.
State your name.
Travis.
Thank you. Do you hold a license as an appraiser in the state of Texas?
I do not.
In front of you is a little part of the way that we hold hearing. You get to choose whether you go first or the district goes first.
Okay.
Which one would you like?
What's the protocol usually? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
You select as the protocol.
I'll go first.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Which property we're doing first? I have two.
The Oak Terrace.
The Oak Terrace. I just got a new appraisal for this year, and it was a home that the GLO built. With that being said, I felt that it was quite a bit overvalued based upon it does not have a garage. The amenities inside were built to the barest of standards because it was essentially a tract home, in my opinion. All the comparables that was used were properties in the same subdivision, but they're all larger with attached garages. And they're all more custom built housing in the subdivision I'm in. I'm underbuilt for the subdivision I'm in. I think really the only fair way to do a comparable is to compare them to the other GLO properties that were built around the city. This one, I circled it because I think it was the only one that did not have an attached garage. So I felt like this value on this comp two here was the one that probably got as close to the same value as the house that I had. All the other I mean, I got a bid, just kind of a rough bid for a garage, having a garage built, and I saw the discounts that y'all did for the garages, and you can't even come close to adding a garage to my property for any of the price. You know, one guy told me 25, another one told me $27,000 to have a garage added to my property. The other properties that I offered up in comparison were a couple of the GLO homes that I was familiar with through the shop discount out of here where I work at. The first one on Jupla is valued at $37.85 a square foot. It's almost a third of what mine is valued at. I don't know. I know it's not in the same neighborhood. You know, it's in a different part of town, but it's one of the GLO homes. While it's a little bit smaller, the square footage price, I don't feel is in line with what I feel my house should be valued at. And there was another one that was in Copano Cove, Jimbo Klein's house. While it was valued quite a bit more than this one, it still was about over $50,000 less than what mine was valued at. And he's got a waterfront lot. So I know sometimes the location matters, but I would think, you know, being situated on a waterfront lot versus Oak Terrace, that's kind of similar, I would say. And I think that's just about it. All the other houses in the subdivision over there that aren't fairly new in Oak Terrace, they are, there's quite a bit of older houses that are valued, you know, kind of comparable to what I think mine should be valued at, but they're all larger with attached garages, so kind of hard to make a apples to apples comparison. That's pretty much, I think, all I've got.
Right, so now the district gets 2 minutes to cross-examine and then 5 minutes to present.
Yeah. On the there's a couple anyways that I've had the opportunity to look at just as soon as I looked at this. And it's, the very first one is on his evidence, account number 55086. This one right here that he has at $37.85 a square foot. First of the year was only 40%. So it's not a complete house, therefore it skews the price per square foot for that particular property. On the next one, again, another GLO home, but this one is account number 15966. That one's 75% complete. So again, it's not a complete home. These are not comparisons of fully complete homes. The last one, let's see. Or I guess there's just two there.
Yeah, this is.
Okay, so those, just for the record, those two comparisons are not valid from the standpoint that they're not complete homes. So with that, I'm just gonna go into my evidence. All right, so the subject property is a GLO home that was placed on the property this last cycle, or it's new for 20, got built in sometime in the time of 19. What we have is a value of $173,190. You can see that the subject property is 1,360 square feet. This board has seen some GLO homes in the past, and we try to keep that classification in that 4 FB minus to 4 FB plus range. Just for reference, and I'll just testify, I want to say that the last one that I looked at was like near Corpus Christi Street, and it was 182,000 is what that one was appraised for, somewhere in that range. This one's in Oak Terrace, a noticeably nicer neighborhood than that area, and it's at 173,190. We have it as complete. We just have the house and the land. And the comparable sales, the two items under protest are market value and values appraisal ratio, so 1 and 2. For number 1, for appraised value, we just look at other sales of other properties within that neighborhood, and then we make the appropriate adjustment. So the sales that we have 4 sales, and one of them is in the same class, but it's a masonry brick veneer rather than a fiberboard. An adjustment is made there. That one sold for 197. When adjusted with the subject for all the elements, including garages, and you have to remember that elements, there was an item reported about like, okay, well, I couldn't even build this garage for this amount, right? And the figures tossed around were 20-something thousand and another 20-something thousand, 22 and 27, I think. And that's a really good point. Okay, I want you to look at comp number 1 and 2 on the sales grid. Notice that they both have garages, and they're both garage attached rather than detached. But in one case, you have a garage, and they're almost the same size. They're 500 square feet and change. One is 17,000, and the other is 22,000. Now you would ask yourself, why the difference? Well, there's 2 differences. One is it's based on the contributory value of the main structure, which one is a 4 and one is a 5. This one has more contributory value. Secondly, the second one is newer. So it's more commensurate with like a new build. So my only point in making that point is that all of the adjustments are appropriately adjusted. All of the elements, garages, porches, storages, anything. So in comp number 1, when you look at the subject and you look at the comp, when it's appropriately adjusted, renders a value of 152,397. Comp number 2 renders a value of 195,434. That one sold at 265. Comp number 3 sold at 264. When you compare it to the subject, renders a value of 204,848. And comp number 4 sold for 253,000. When you compare it to the subject, it renders a value of 196,135. When you look at the median value for the sales in the area when compared with the subject, that renders a value of 195,784. And therefore upholds the valuation of 173,190. I'm sorry.
Are any of those homes GLO homes or not?
No. They're just homes in the neighborhood because that's what the marketplace would look at. They would definitely note that it was a yellow home, and he's right that maybe he's underbuilt for the area, but that's exactly the position you want to be in when you own property. You want to own the least valuable home, or the least, because you have the most area for appreciation. So that's the one you actually want to own. The second thing under protest is equity. And when you look at equity, you'll look at when you look at equity, the equity grid is showing we have other 4FB minuses in the subdivision. Okay, so we're trying to compare it with other 4FB minuses there. And again, the adjustments are made accordingly to what you have. So this one, the first one has a value of 161, but when you compare it with the subject, and both for size, effective age, living space, garages, porches, renders a value of 173. Column number 2 renders a value of 160. Column number 3 renders a value of 185,542. Now, keep in mind, these are all 4FB homes. Actually, they're all 4FB minus homes. They're all within the same subdivision, so their market influence is the same from that standpoint. And the differences are, like the property owners indicated, their porches and the garages and things of that sort. This renders a value of 173,800, which again is right on the value that we have for the subject property, 173,190.
Okay, so, now you get, 2 minutes for district cross-examine and then 2 minutes for rebuttal. So, essentially 4 minutes.
So I get to kind of dispute what you presented?
Sure, of
Or
course.
you can, whatever.
Okay, I don't think it's just on some of the, can you back it up?
Sure, for sure. You tell us where you want us to stop.
Which one were we at? 'Cause we talked about this one, but I felt like this was a lot closer to, you know, like you said, that 4 FB minus, you say is kind of the classification limit.
Uh-huh.
And that one there, that comp one, it shows to be a larger, you know, it's a larger house with an attached garage. And the market value, you know, y'all's number is 161,810.
Uh-huh.
And I see where you discount it because the lot's not as big and it wasn't built as new. But I just don't see at the resale level that y'all like to, that you reference, that his house is not worth less. I don't see that, you know, the square footage is more, it's got an attached garage. So I really don't see anywhere, the fact that it was built in 2004 shouldn't affect the value. I understand it's got a smaller lot, but I just don't see that big of a jump happening there. Because if you take, you know, if you factor in back the land value, you're right about where I'm at. I don't, I know y'all, this is all kind of generated, but I just, there's gonna be a stigma attached to these houses. Whenever you go to resell them, there's gonna be people that know about them because it's been, and they're not gonna get the resale value. The resale's not gonna be there comparable to all the other properties that you listed.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing from the standpoint, you know, we won't really know that until after 3 years, because I think we learned that, you know, that's the stipulation of time that a person has to own it prior to them selling it. So we won't really know the answer to that until that time, and what stigma and or total market influences are going to be associated with that. But until that time, this is what we do.
So what, and I'm just curious, so what okay, looking at that first comp number 1.
Uh-huh.
What things is it that you see on there?
Like we were talking about, like me trying to add a garage to bring value, to bring it more in line with regular residential properties, is gonna be considerable. Like I said, I had Farnsworth over there, and they just kind of shot me a square footage price, but.
Well, Farnsworth's going to charge you more than.
But needless to say,
You know,
I had a little
he's a
sticker
meticulous-
shot.
He's a
you know?
meticulous builder.
Yes, but
I
I
mean,
was just
he's-
like, I didn't have any idea that that actually adding something like that and having to tie into the structure, it was like, wow, I was unprepared for it.
Yeah, you're probably best with your situation there. You're probably best off doing a detached, you know, situation. It's probably cheaper for you. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, like I said, the stuff
You
inside,
still
I
got
mean,
1 minute.
it's kind of, I mean, it's basic inside, you know, it's
It's
yeah,
great
it's
stuff.
drop-in showers and the fiberglass units, it's nothing custom inside, so I know it's hard to kind of reflect that on what you'll
What's
have
the
to go
siding
on.
on it? What is
They
it?
use hardy board,
Hardy
not
board.
actual hardy board though, it's the generic version, for sure.
Oh, so there are, not familiar with GLO homes that well, but, so there are differences in the quality of the building of GLO homes. They're
Well, I
not
would
all
say
standard.
materials too matter, you know, when they go to source the materials, they're gonna not pick the most expensive stuff. You know, premium products, you know, they told me whenever they were building it that, oh yeah, it's hardy board or whatever. Well, come to find out, it actually wasn't hardy, it was,
It was the off-brand of the Hardy plank. It's
Yes.
fiberboard.
yes, it is fiberboard.
Yes, that's why we have FB, not Hardy plank. We don't have an HP. We have FB.
Okay.
Okay, so, now the district gets, a 2 minute rebuttal or whatever.
And so from market value standpoint, it's placed in a subdivision that has some high congruency. Sales are super solid in there. I mean, if you just look at the sales of homes, 197, 265, 264, 253, those are all well in excess of the 173 that we currently have on the subject property. Yes, it's a GLO home. Yes, in most cases, it's actually smaller than the comps. But if you look, I mean, when appropriately adjusted for all of those conditions, it's a rendering a value, a median value of 195 that well supports the valuation that we have on there of 173. I mean, by an order of 20,000, 22,000. When you look for comp equity, this is where we get into the nuts and bolts of trying to look at every element that's there. And when you're looking at these elements, what does the marketplace see? Well, they see a hardy plank home. Yes, it's a GLO home, but they do see fiberboard. They see somewhere in the range of, what is that, 1581 to 1280 square feet. And then all the appropriate changes for effective age and size of the lot. If you look at that comp number 1 on the equity grid again, the biggest adjustment that you have there is the lot size. There's $17,000 difference in the lot size there. And, you take the 161 plus the 17, and that takes you to 178, just on that adjustment alone. And then you have to start taking away things for, that comp number 1 is a little bit bigger. Comp number 1 has a garage. We try to take away for all of that.
Okay, so now, we have 1 minute that you get, Travis, for, closing, and then the district will get 1 minute to close.
I don't think I really have any more to say. We've gone through it. I just, like I said, with the discounting of the comps, it looks like not enough, money's there for the garage, and that's my opinion. He said, because it was 2004, that's why the discount is what it is. I felt like the house that I had before, which was an older house and was valued for less money, was the better house. It was bigger with an attached garage, but it was valued for less money. And now, and I was fortunate enough for the GLO to build the home, but it's kind of hard for me to see that, I got something in my mind that's inferior to what I had, but now it's taxed at this extra high level. So I'm kind of at a loss there, that's.
Okay, and Mike, you get 1 minute.
Yeah, as far as the garage thing, we're not assessing for a garage. We appropriately adjust for the garage. Comp number 1 of our sales grid actually shows a really good illustration of that. I'm sorry, comp number 2 of our sales grid. You see there's comp number 2 has a $22,000 adjustment there. Well, in a house that's almost new, we're recognizing that there's almost, there's $22,000 worth of value associated with that. But the subject is not being assessed for that. And in this particular comp, when you compare it to the subject, it's sold for $265. We took $22,000 away from this equation. It's bigger, so we took value away for that. I mean, there's porches, so we took value away from that. That sale, which is the newest comp that we have as far as effective age, indicates a value of 195. And it supports the value for the subject property.
All right, so now the appraisal review board, we get 5 minutes to deliberate and come up with our answer. So I have a few just of course, a few questions. Was your house complete January 1st?
Yes.
Okay. Mike, is there a neighborhood or area adjustment for
There is.
this area? Because
There
I
is.
thought I saw one for 118%.
That is correct. So houses in this area sell for more than they would, like on the one that we saw just a few days ago. which it had a different neighborhood adjustment down there.
Do you see that, Travis, on there, the bottom line? And it says subdivision, SUBD, and it's where he's circling that little thing around. But that right there, that would put, just in general, any home in that area would be up, in theory, 18% more, okay? So that's what that is, because people want to buy there. And then the other thing, Mike, is there anything online that the general public can view that just kind of like, okay, a 4FB equals, you know, sheetrock, you get what, you know, like each.
I have the appraisal manual that has a kind of basic description of those things.
But I'm saying, no, and I mean, I believe you're following correct, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, me, a person in the general public, if I want to know what's going to possibly put me up while I'm making, you know, cost of building or whatever, I'm just asking in general, is there anything so
Yes,
that
the
I
answer,
think that would help people, you know, just to even understand how it falls out.
the answer is yes. I have an appraisal manual that describes hardy board rather than masonry and veneer. I have classifications from 1 to 7, and I have that general description. It does not have a matrix that tells you, okay, if you have between 1,500 and 1,800 square feet, or 1,500 and 1,600 square feet at this new build, at this, you know, it doesn't, because the matrices are so voluminous that it would be, I don't have that. I just have the general description.
I think it's unfortunate that we don't have, aren't able to have sales of GLO homes, which I know we're not gonna get from them for years, to see if they hold value in the community that they're in.
Right.
We don't have that, unfortunately, so we have to go with what Mike has compared it to. He has showed that this property is adjusted properly and that it is below market value and slightly below equity value. I don't know.
Well, when you look at the equity value, when you look at the individual comps, what's kind of got my attention is comp 2 comes out adjusted, properly adjusted to 160,500, 63.
Right.
Where do you see that?
It's in the
Comp
comp equity.
grid,
Oh, in the equity grid.
in the equity grid. And there's no question that the 173 is the median, because there's a 185, a 160, and a 173. But it just seems to me that his house falls more in the category of the Hickory Avenue house at 165, 63 adjusted.
Well, that house is also older too, by what, 20, 22 years?
But did it get fixed during the hurricane, after the hurricane?
We don't have
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah, it got adjusted though. 11,266, 65, sorry. Adjustment for the age.
Did you find it?
I can, yeah, no, I see what you're talking about.
I do too, but I don't know.
Land values and sizes are similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can agree with you there, Charlie.
Are you thinking that's what this should be assessed at, for 160?
I'm sorry?
Are you thinking that's what it should be
Yes.
assessed at,
Yes.
160?
Well, not the 63, but 160, 560.
Because it's more, it's just more similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine with me.
Ramona, are you good with that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Robert, it doesn't have.
I don't like these homes.
Okay.
I don't like the whole GLO thing. I think it's unfair to the homeowner.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion on account number 29856 that we lower the total value to 160,560.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Okay.
Sorry to take a, do you make a motion covering any particular
Oh,
issues?
thank you, I'm sorry. I'm gonna amend my, motion. I'm so sorry, I didn't do it right. To where, I believe that this will take into consideration the possibility of an incorrect appraised market value and the possibility of the appraisal ratio exceeding the median level of appraisal.
My second.
Favor?
Aye.
Okay. Hearing is closed. We'll open a hearing. We'll spare you the script this time.
Just roll right into it.
Open a hearing on case number 2020-767, account 19200. Our members who are considering the protest have not communicated with anyone about the protest and are signing an affidavit to that effect. I, Charles Powers, do solemnly swear I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 4166F.
Sleeping over here. I, Kathy Hoffman, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 4166.
I, Cindy Duck, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code number 41.66F.
I, Robert Davis, I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66F.
I, Ramona LeBlanc, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66F, and I'm signing to that effect, and I'm physically located in Texas.
I, Elizabeth Rising, notarizing Ramona's signature. I also am located in Texas.
All testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath. You get to read it again.
I do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony I shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
Thank you, Judge.
My name is Michael Sutter. Do solemnly swear affirm the testimony shall the review board of the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
Travis, who goes first?
I'll go first on this one.
Okay. Okay, you have 5 minutes.
They went up quite a bit on the properties in Fulton, on Google's Cole Boulevard. Considerable increase from 60,000, I think, up to 76, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood. It's pretty much 4 lots that are unimproved. They are low, so any improvements that are made to it would be considerable expense because you're gonna have to bring in a lot of fill dirt because it holds water a little bit whenever the rain, we get a lot of rain. I felt like all the comparables, you couldn't even make considerable comparable. A lot of the lots were on the water side, which all those should be worth more money. But the fact that it's 4 unimproved lots too, you don't have anything on the comp grid that is similar at all to it. All those are all smaller lots and a lot of the comps are on the water side. Also, you've got within a block walk from the place, you have 2 property owners, not this one, it's further in. And I didn't understand that one because on the property number, and I'm not so good at getting through this, on that one there, the property ID, that's in front of me. But it showed on one on the comp grid to be one amount, and then on the ACAD website, you know, the property search, it should be a different amount. So I was kind of confused as to what the difference there was.
Which one is that?
This property here, this ID, property ID 8821630. If you look at your comp group, the property evidence back I got, that property ID number, on the comp grid was like 99,000, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, right here. And then, but if you check on the ACAD website, it has a value on there. I think I have it scanned in too, but I didn't understand the difference there. Also, I was gonna say that there's two properties. There's, they had a crude storage facility, and they got run away in the storm. So he's got just a residential in the front, and the whole rest of it is pretty much cleared, unimproved land, similar to what I've got. And the values on it are a third of what the property on Google's Cold valued at. If you'll scroll down some more, it's towards the back of the evidence that I brought. And like I said, I just wrote on there that all these were on the water side of 35, which, you know, of course, lots on the water side of 35 are gonna be worth more money than stuff on the other side of 35. So if you
Can you see
scroll down some more.
where this location is? I'm confused as to where it is.
It's, you know, where the town of Fulton has their, it's right there by the volunteer fire department. It's on Chaparral and Google's Cold Boulevard now.
I still don't. No, keep going, because you're in your.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
But there's a couple of properties, this one up here, this 19247, and then this 19205 that I was talking about. Those both are, I mean, of course you got highway frontage, but the way they've got it divided up on the backside, they've got it separated out into two parcels. And both of those properties are valued at a third of what they've got us valued at over here. And the one on 19205, he's already had structures on it, and it's been brought up to grade. So, you know, while you're saying you still have kind of empty lots, the amount of resources to bring these lots in to be developed is not to be, I think you have to take that into account.
Where's the
Oh, there's not water standing right now, but it does when it rains.
I thought you meant it was on the water.
No. I just meant that if we had heavy rain, that there's a section of the property in the back that holds water, retains water.
Ah,
Can you show us,
What's that? Oh, sure.
just zoom in on it and show us where you,
The backside here is where it's got a spot
zoom
right
in
here
some more.
that it'll hold water whenever it rains. But the whole lot itself is low compared to the roadways. And I know that's, you go to Village, you have to be up so high above the roadway.
where is it low?
Back here. We'll get a good rain, hold water back here.
and what about on the backside where it looks kind of dark? At the top, I guess. is
At the
what
top, that's some vegetation that
Okay.
we've cleared out. There's a good drainage ditch there, so once you get it filled in, right, it'll be graded. It should be fine.
And you're saying the whole property is
Oh,
below
general,
the road?
yeah, it's low in general. I mean, if you go to build on it, it's gonna have to have a lot of material brought in to be able to put concrete or any kind of structure on it.
All right, so now Mike gets 2 minutes to cross-examine and 5 minutes to present.
In my cross-examine time, the 8821630, you know, had a $99,000 value. He said he went to go look at it and had a different value. Just want to say that property sold in 9 of 19. And then after that time, the property owner split the property. So only a portion of that property is now associated with that number. This other part of the property got a new number. So that's the
That's
reason.
where the confusion is.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
As far as the other lots that, you said something about 1/3 the value, are you talking about 1/3 the price per square foot?
Yes, on those other properties I was talking about.
Yeah, and they're bigger and they get in what's called an economy of size or scale, which means that if I sell you 5,000 square feet, I'm gonna sell it to you, let's say hypothetically, at $5 a foot. But if I sell you 10, I may not charge you $5. You know, the marketplace may not meet at $5 a foot, maybe like $4 a foot. And then when we go to 20,000 square feet, it may be $3 a square foot. There's an economy of scale or size, and that happens in the marketplace. So just generally speaking, I could go into those and look at that, but I feel confident that that would be the reason that those, because those are really close. They're going to be on the same. One is on this side, one is on this side of the subject. But that's the reason. You have larger tracks, they're going to have an economy size or scale that's built into that. For sure. The elements that are low, when you say like it holds water low, that's different than just the general topography of the, because, you know, Fulton West or west of 35, that stuff is all kind of the same thing. I mean, you don't have like major elevation changes from one lot to the other. You have generalized areas, like you indicated, like, hey, to the back southern part of my area, there's this pocket that kind of holds water. That's something that we could discuss. I mean, that's something that you can say, hey, I want to identify this area. Usually it's more pronounced. Like we can actually see.
It only happens when it rains. I mean, when we get a good inch or two or whatever, there'll be water back there, you know.
And it holds for how long?
It just kind of depends. If we get dried up pretty quick, it'll stay there for a week or two. Sometimes, you know.
Okay. Sounds good. Let me go into my evidence. This was an area
We've got
that
4
did,
minutes, just
this area experienced some change just due to market value. And it was specifically the properties west of 35, you know, what is that, 9th, 10th, 11th Street, somewhere in there, 12th Street. Those areas got changed in their market value. If you look at the sales comparison grid, these are just other comparable sales that are just in the whole area. The one that's most comparable is the one of Dehusa, which is west of 35. And if you'll look at that price per square foot, that one sold at $99,000. And it was only 6,250 square feet.
That was before they split it or after?
That's before they split it.
So they took a 6,250 foot parcel of land and split that up.
Oh, no. That was the time of the sale. No, hang on.
this has to be on.
Let's take a look.
Has to be.
Yeah, because you're,
Yes.
let's take a look. Good point. That's a really good point. Just go to roll history. Go into 19 and you'll be able to see what it was. That's a really good point, Travis. Go into 19, just go into 19. Hit details. Go into print preview. Pull it down. Right click.
That's confusing right there. You know, it shows that it sold
Go
for
into-
99,000,
go into
but
18.
that's the divided piece, I'm sure, right?
Go
He's
into,
checking it,
That's
yeah,
the way
and
it
he's
is.
agreeing with you, he's saying
Yes.
it doesn't look right, so
Yes.
he's checking it. So we're just kinda, it's not really.
okay,
anybody's.
go into split merge. You know, I'm gonna go into my time. He's
There
gonna
is
look.
no 18 on it.
Go into split merge and be able to see the other account. So Dehusa, you have sales that indicate median market value at 97,720. The subject is 76,260. From an equity grid, you look at stuff that's also on Google's Coal. It's appropriately adjusted for size. These are all on Google's Coal. It indicates exactly the price per square, or exactly the price that we have on the subject, because these are all on Google's Coals and 12th Street. So it's going to be the stuff that we would have adjusted west of 35. This also, how much time do I have?
A minute, and
This also has something on 12th Street. And these are not necessarily sales, these are just other properties in the area and how they're appraised currently. You can see that the one on 12th Street, which is just one block over, it's currently assessed at 32,000, has a carport and storage on it, but you can see that it's only 6,200 square feet. So there's a lot of value attributable to the land. So, let's see, comp number 1 on the equity grid. Again, that's only 4,600 square feet. Comp number 2 is more commensurate with the subject. It's assessed at 99,500, and it has 18,750. You take off the garage, and you take off the TP, and you're exactly at 76,260, just like the subject, because all that remains is the land. Did you find that split?
Yeah, it's 4 properties. 22, 15, 16.
So it would have been 4 lots. So 6250 times 4. Hang on. 6250 times 4 equals 25,000 square feet. So in that comp, that DeHusa, which is on the west side, you have 25,000 square feet, and it's sold for 99,000. So.
Go ahead and finish up with this thing.
Which is $396 a square foot. And if you look at the subject property, it's currently assessed at $305 a square foot. It supports the value that we have on the subject. That was one of the major comps that we used.
Okay, so now, it is, Kevin's turn to do.
Travis's.
Oh, God, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. To do, protester cross-examine and then rebuttal. So you have 4 minutes total.
I'll just use Mike's economies of scale. None of the other properties, that one comp was the only one. All the other comps were smaller lots. So you're telling me that it's discounted to have more property. I don't feel like they did a real accurate reflection of using the comps because all the other ones were small. All of them were small. So it's hard to take and tell me the other guys are a third, they're at a third, they're valued at a third because they've got a little more land. That doesn't exactly make a lot of sense. If you bring up my evidence package, that one section that's right there on 35, the backside, it's subdivided into 2 spots. But I just don't see how you can go from block to block and go, drop, over a third. It just doesn't add up to me. Like if you're gonna try to compare similar properties, you can't just cherry pick all these individual lots and try to come at a figure for an economy of, because it's a bigger piece of land. It's not gonna have as high a.
So this one has $1.55 per square foot.
Yes, on the backside.
Okay, let's look at that. Let's look at that.
Where's the account number?
Yeah, scroll down or up.
It's up.
19205. Can we look at that account? Yeah, that's the same. It's on the same schedule. The 2026, which is the thing for Fulton -10. If you look at the details, you can go to the range. This is the price per square foot. So the subject is it's 25. The subject is 25. Is that right?
25.
25. So it's between here and here. Or is it 30? It's the subject. Yeah, it's 25. It's 25. So it falls at 305. And if it was less than 24, it'd be 330. The one that's indicated here must be down here because it's really big. So this is it's on the same table, it's just got the economy of size.
We'll go back to see, to the information on it.
Yeah,
And how many square footage is it? 50,000 square foot. So go back to your range.
no, it's,
Yes, the backside that they got it.
yeah, but you have to look at the whole. It takes the whole, it takes the whole and it gives the benefit for both.
Oh, so it gets to count.
If you have a big piece, say this is the piece of land right here, and this side's residential and this side's commercial, or against the highway, they both get the benefit of the bigger whole as a piece.
So how much is that? Is this 19205?
Yes,
Okay, so how much is it per square foot?
$1.55 is what it showed, market value. $1.55.
And
Go back to
it's
the
double the square footage of his property.
That's right.
But go back to the details on that. It
It's
says,
not- it's
it
not
says
a
if it's
third.
50,000 square feet, that it should be in the higher range.
But again, it gets the economy of size. It gets the whole economy of size. See, because you have two pieces.
But you have it valued differently. The one in the front is valued for more. That commercial side, one
Yeah,
is commercial, one is
Because it's
residential.
on a different table.
So look, can we look at the other one?
The commercial?
Are you saying it's split into two?
Well, it is, it's got residential on one side and commercial on the other,
Commercial?
right?
Click on that. Yeah. It's on the 11, and it's the 11, that's 11th Street. Go ahead.
right.
155.
But you're in 50,000 is what it says. It's-
Because the combined square footage is 100,000 square feet. That's my point. It's 100,000 square feet.
It's not 50,000 total.
No, it's 50 and 50. One's on 11 table and one's on 10 table, but they're both the same price per square foot.
And they end up, when you do the math on the whole piece, it's still at 155.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. All right, so now we're at, the protester closing.
I think, do I have a rebuttal?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So sorry, Mike.
That's okay. My rebuttal would be, I think one of the points that he said, like on the equity, or not on the equity, but the best sale is the DeHusa. Now, it's the best sale because it's on the west side of 35. And if you know DeHusa Street, if you could pull up the pictometry, I mean, it's not super desirable. It's further, thank you. It's further north than the subject. But having said that, it well supports the valuation that we have because that one came out to $3.96 for a parcel that was 25,000 square feet. The subject is 25,000 square feet. What did that sell for? 99,000. What do we have the subject assessed for? 76,000. That one's the best comp by far. And when you look at the equity, which is the other thing under protest, these are all properties pulled in from Google's Cole Boulevard. The best comp that's most comparable to the subject is comp number 112 Google's Boulevard. And that one, you can see, has 18,750 square feet. That one's going to fall in that range. Whatever that price per square foot was that we just showed, it's going to fall in that range.
The 305.
Well, I don't know if it's 305. I think that anything less than, if it's less than, remember, we were at 30 to
Got it.
24, and so it's gonna increase price per square foot, it's gonna be
Right.
even more, that other one's gonna even be more. So, but they're all on that table, and they're appropriately adjusted, is what I would say. That Google Coles Boulevard, I mean, if you pull that one up, that's 65947, well, that's okay. It's on that thing, it's gonna be on that, one of those tables, 10th or 11th Street.
Okay, Travis, you get 1 minute.
I just like to close, I think like when you create those square footage values, they're kind of just arbitrary. You know, you got 24 to 30, there's always gonna be sections that fall above or below, and
They are.
And I think you can make the argument that this land, this property here probably should be bumped up into the other one, in my opinion, for valuation. That being said, too, like it's hard to discount, I don't know how to take into account, or how y'all would take into account the fact that it's unimproved and has no fill has been brought in, nothing to that nature, whereas that you're comparable to Husa. I don't know if they have a structure on it or not, but it also could have been more suitable to build on initially. They could have had, it could be brought up to grade is what I'm getting at. Like I said, I guess I understand where the bigger properties, you have the bigger economy of scale, but I just feel like maybe this should be in the.
Okay. All right, so Mike, you did a minute.
I guess let me just see the HUSA, which is account number 8821630.
They broke it into.
Yeah, I know. Let me just see. No, just on pictometry. The only thing that the subject property owners indicated that I would warrant a change would be just for the low area that he's indicated to the south part of the property. So it had to these 4 right here. And I don't know at the time of the sale whether it had anything. If we could look back a year. Look back a year.
So those are all separate now.
Yeah,
So that
had
actually-
something on it. They got pulled off. Those 4, it looks like, probably. In light of everything that the property owner said, I mean, the only thing I would say is that the southern part of the property, he's indicated as low. I can't see it, but that doesn't mean it's not there. I mean, he's testified to it. So you can pull his property back up.
All right, so now we're at our 5 minutes.
That's correct.
I wanted to see his property too, because
I know, I still have, this Google's, I don't know.
This old Speedy Stop in Fulton, where there's a tobacco place now, I believe.
Yes.
It's an old convenience store. It's one.
His property.
It's on Chaparral is better description of it.
Zoom in on, that's his property right here.
so how much of that are you indicating is wet?
Just
Can you get up and
Can you
go
draw
point it out?
Just draw it.
It's about that circle there. It's not, I guess it's more like right here, and you can't really see it there. It's hard to
Run
tell.
our,
I give 5% for that,
5%.
5%, 72,440.
I like that number.
And then one other question, that other property that got divided into 4 pieces, are those individually owned? Or are they all 4 owned by one person? Right.
I don't know. I can go into each one and look. If you
Because
don't,
if they're individually owned, then that's a different,
There's no comments.
no economy of scale.
well, they're broken up now.
But January 1st they were, or else they wouldn't have had that ballot. Well, I don't know. Were they broken up January 1st?
They were broken up after.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go look at 2 of them so we can see what names are on them, because if they're owned by different people, there is no economy of scale.
I don't, Okay. I don't know where you're going, but I mean, yeah, let's,
So you're saying if I,
But Cindy, it's in two different areas, two different neighborhoods.
you're
You
just,
have to remember that.
Scott, Cindy would like you to look at the pictometry imagery of 8821630. And then we're gonna look at those account numbers, and then we're gonna look at the accounts.
How much time do we have?
a minute and 25. Did you have a number for that? You gave that number for this 5%?
72,440.
Okay, would you like to look at one of these other accounts? 60302.
I just still, I don't even know where those two, how they're related to each other. But wasn't it in your comps?
Yes, it was.
That's one piece of property.
Who owns 60302? Let me go read it.
Two of them are Biesenbach.
Okay,
So somebody may own all four, and so that would be the economy of scale. Right?
Yeah, you're right.
I don't think that's the issue.
yeah. Go into.
Yeah, I don't,
I think take the 5% for the flooding area, and that's a good price.
it's two different neighborhoods.
All right, and that's what at the beginning, I said, I don't know where these are.
Okay.
That's fine,
Yeah,
okay.
they're all Biesenbach is the owner of
Okay.
all four of those.
All
And
right,
answer
so
this
see,
question.
so then that answers to him, because he kept saying, but they're four. And so now, do you see that all four of them are owned by one person? Yes, they're separated, but they're still four.
It was confusing on y'all's,
Yeah,
the
in our three.
website, it's, like I said,
Okay.
too. It's,
So,
You're right, Jeff. It was confusing.
yeah, because you bring up the property account number and it shows to be valued at
Yeah, you're
whatever
right.
the separate pieces.
I
You're
just
correct.
wanted him to
We're
see.
good.
Okay, is it our time?
Yeah, so take off 7,
Well, 5%. Charlie already figured it out.
72,440.
is the final number. Thank you very much. Okay, so if anybody, does anybody have anything else, or else I can make a motion?
No,
Okay, so taking 5% off for the property where it is in a low area on account number 19200. Taking into consideration the incorrect appraised market value and that the appraisal ratio exceeds the median level of appraisal, where I believe it is warranted, we believe that it's warranted to take the value down due to an area that holds water. So the 2020 value should be $72,440.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Case closed.
All right, Trev.
Okay, but leave that map, I just want to see, I didn't know there was a
Beth, can you
people.
get the one?
Oh, wait, can I let Mike, while
Yeah.
he's leaving and
Yeah.
while they're doing the
Sure,
paperwork?
sure.
They'll have one on the phone.
Waiting, okay, I just want to see where Google Call Drive is.
You get a document.
Thanks, Travis.
Yes, thank y'all.
Take it easy, man.
Bye.
Appreciate y'all.
So it must be this little thing right here?
Those four are the ones that sold.
Oh. You call for Chaparral or?
You could put his back up, Scott.
Second we close out this thing. Well, I remember what happened. Okay, the comp was up here. He is down here. Across from the fire station almost.
In Fulton?
That one more time. That's it, right there. That's all you need.
Okay, where's he?
Fire station's here, he's here.
That's the fire station?
One more up, right there.
So this is now Google Drive?
No, no, it goes this way.
It's up and down, it goes north and south.
Goes in front of the fire department. It's,
We have
See, now
somebody
that's
calling
on
in
right
right
here.
135.
I'm sorry,
Somebody calling in or what?
somebody's ready right now.
Okay.
People are ready.
Yeah, that's the new,
Ninth Avenue, Ninth Avenue is?
It's the one in front of the fire station. It's just like 3 blocks.
I think it's 10, maybe 9. I think it's 10. Or is it 9?
Right. Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is this person on the phone?
Yes.
Yep, they're ready, waiting for us whenever we're ready to bring them in.
Take it off. Thank you, guys.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I can take this off now.
And that green line is the line between Fulton and Rockport?
Fulton County.
City limits.
Fulton. This is Fulton. This is Rockport. This is county. This is county. Out here.
What is that?
County,
Oh, okay.
Fulton, Rockport.
This is actually Rockville right here.
That's Rockport. This is county. Donut. That's been a weird deal. Not closing that in.
David?
It's a phone.
No, they're on the phone.
Yeah, they call.
Whenever you're ready to bring them
they
in, we'll
call.
bring them in.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're in the waiting.
They're waiting whenever y'all want to bring them in.
I'm ready.
824, right?
Yes, Casey.
Okay. Okay. You can bring him in.
Hello?
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 Hello,
Hello?
hello, Ms. Casey.
Ms. Racick?
This is Kathy Radford.
Oh, Kathy Radford, okay.
Yes.
Charlie Powers at the Appraisal Review Board.
Okay.
If you would, just bear with us. We have a little administration to take care of before we get to the heart of the matter.
Okay.
We're opening a hearing on case number 2020-824, account 60897. Hearing is being recorded. We are the Appraisal Review Board that will be hearing your protest today. Present are myself, Charles Powers, Cindy Duck, Ramona LeBlanc is via Zoom, Kathy Hoffman, and Robert Dayton. We do not work for the appraisal district. We are appointed to perform an independent review of your protest. Comptroller's office provides an electronic survey for you to offer feedback about your experience today that may be accessed at the appraisal district office or online at surveymonkey.com/r/surveyarb. Survey is voluntary, but we do appreciate you taking it. You also have the right to appeal our decision. Appeal information will be provided to you with our determination. In accordance with Tax Code Section 4145H, all written material that has not been provided must be provided at this time. Do we have all of your evidence in our system?
It was mailed to you a week before the meeting.
Very good, thank you. The ARB members who are considering your protest have not communicated with anybody about the protest and are signing affidavits to that effect. And we go around the table on this one. I, Charles Powers, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 4166F.
Excuse me, I, Kathy Hoffman, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66F.
I, Cindy Duck, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code 41.66L.
I, Robert Date, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66F.
I, Ramona LeBlanc, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66F and am signing to that effect, and I'm physically located in Texas.
I, Elizabeth Piccarazzi, notarizing Ramona's signature. I also am located in Texas.
All testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath. Ma'am, I'm assuming that you are under oath as you signed the affidavit. Do you understand?
Yes,
Thank you.
My name is Michael Soto. I do solemnly swear from the testimony shall present to the appraisal review board for Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
Now, Charlie, she only marked other in her
Wait a
protest.
minute. Do you hold a Texas appraiser's license?
Ma'am?
Yeah.
yes.
Do you hold a Texas appraiser's license?
Do I hold a Texas appraisal license?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay. The governor makes me ask these questions.
Okay.
Do you have in front of you or access to a chart of the hearing procedure times? It was page.
I do.
Excellent. Well, then you get to choose who goes first.
I can present, and basically what I'm going to say is what I presented to you in the affidavit. It is basically that you have us listed as an end unit, and we provided photos of Kentucky and our unit. And as you can see from it, we are not an end unit. We abut up to the office. There is on the third picture we provided shows that little alcove window that the end units have. We do not have that. Ours is not, it's closed in. We do not have that. Our only view that we have is like all of the other lower floor interior units, which is the small windows in front and then the patio door in the back. We also end up dealing where we are with a lot of congestion and noise, not only from the office itself, but from people congregating and the congestion and noise from right outside our windows. So we are not an end unit. We do not share the privacy that they end up having. We do not share the quiet. We end up having a lot of noise where we are. The only thing we have different than any of the other interior rooms on the lower floor is that we do have a few extra square feet, and that's it.
You checked other on your protest form. Are you
Well, at the time, I was concerned with the virus, but as we looked at it also, you know, we just said, we didn't realize in the beginning that you had us listed as an end unit. And once we realized that, it was like, wait a minute, no, we are not an end unit. We're far from that. So other was just the concern with the virus and the situation of renting, and our units in Kentucky have been certainly impacted from the virus and
Okay,
the
well,
closing down.
virus
And
is
at the time
the virus,
at the time I signed that, so that was the other at that on the first one.
but the other now is your concern is that whether you're classified as an end unit or not. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Because like I say, I provided pictures for you to actually see, and you can see we're crowded up in that corner next to the door to the office.
Okay. What time?
There's still 2 minutes.
Ma'am, you still have 2 minutes of your time. If you have anything else you want to add?
No, I presented
Okay.
what we have.
Okay.
Charlie. 2 doors is the office door.
The one to the left.
This one right here, to
Not
the
that.
right,
It's the one with the glass.
It's the one with the glass.
that's the office door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where's their unit? It's
Right
that one right
next to
there?
it. So there's 2 windows to the left.
Okay.
All right. She doesn't have anything else.
All right, so now, ma'am, now the appraisal district gets 2 minutes to cross-examine and then 5 minutes to present.
Okay.
Okay. As far as classification of an end unit, is there any other unit to the north of you?
No,
So there's no residential unit to the north of you.
no. On the lower floor, it's on the lower floor. It's the office. You can see in the one picture the big roof and the porch in front of it, and that's the management office.
Thank you very much. For the record, the subject property owners indicated that there's no other residential condo unit to the north, which means that she is the end unit when it comes to the condominium complex. She is right next to the office.
It doesn't have the amenities.
It doesn't have, well, it's the end unit, which means you don't have, typically, you're right, typically on the other end or above her, they typically does not have, she would not have the amenities on this side.
She was not.
Does your condominium go all the way through to the back? Does it go from east to west?
Yes, it's even with all of the rest of them on the lower floor.
She does have the
The
amenities.
unit right next to us, our patios are all the units. The patios are lined up, so we're the same depth as the rest of the units.
Thank you. Hold on.
Okay, I'm going to look at, she is classified as an end unit. She may not have the amenities like the other end units, but let's look at the difference between end units and regular units, because I'm in my cross time and this is relevant to the questions that she's posed. So just go into her account and pull it over, and she is unit 111, I believe.
Yes.
But for the record, she's right here. Right here. It goes all the way through to the back. This is the office space. She does not, like she's indicated, she does not have this amenity to look out of these windows. Now let's look at the differences between what these are and what maybe something interior is. So let's go into the appraisal operation. Print review. And this is on our evidence card as well. You'll see that this is in 124. The subdivision is 165 overall. let's go ahead and close that.
I couldn't hear you, Mike. You cut out there. What was that?
End unit is 124%, and the whole condominium complex is 165. So I'm gonna go next door and see what that is. Go to next. Now this is first floor. So this is the first floor, the one right next door.
Okay.
We're gonna just see what the differences is. And if there's a market difference, is the market reacting to this indifferently? And the answer is that on the first floor, she would be at 100%. She would be different. At 120, 116 valuation. Now you have to ask yourself the question, what amenities is losing and what is really going on? In our evidence, what happened? Why did we go up? Now I'm going to get to my evidence. My evidence indicates that, again, market value wasn't checked, equity wasn't checked. She's trying to say that an in unit, different other in units have different amenities, and believe indicated is that influence on value. In my evidence, you'll see that the subject property is currently listed at $146,000 and change. There's some other sales that are here that have indicated these are not end units. Notice that these are not end units. These have 130, 135, and 134. Again, these are comps of sales that have indicated that, hey, even if you're not an end unit, they're selling for that 135 range. Now, the reason that there's an adjustment that shows an equity, that shows a median value of 145 is because hers is an end unit. Pointed out that it doesn't have all the amenities that maybe other end units have, but it is an end unit. And so that's adjusted and we have a median value at 145. But understand at the base level, at the very least, these are other sales of interior units that have sold for 134, 130, and 135. Interior units, okay, that we would all agree they don't have the amenities of any end unit.
How come? I asked her about one sale.
That is equity. How are other end units treated? The other end units are treated identically at 146, 830 supports the value. She's indicated that, hey, I'm right next to an office. Maybe I don't have the amenities that the other end units had. And I would agree with that. I would say that it's between the 146 and the 135 that we have of other sales somewhere in there. Because we have other sales that are indicating at 130, 134, and 135. I'm saying that it's about 135,000 for other sales of interior units. She's an end unit, but she's really not as good as the other end units. Those are at 146. I'm saying that it should be somewhere in between.
Mike, what did you say the neighbors was assessed at?
The neighbors was assessed at 116.
What?
116. I can show you.
116.
Yeah, I can show you the differences of that one to this one.
It's time.
It's a difference.
He can show her.
It's a difference in square footage.
I don't think we have.
Okay.
455 as opposed to 469 that the subject property has. So that has.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so now, ma'am,
Yes.
you have 2 minutes to cross-examine and 2 minutes for rebuttal. So you have 4 minutes total.
Well, I presented what we felt like, and yes, as I said, we have 14 extra square foot in that unit. Then that we know that we do have the extra footage, so we accept that fact. But that's, other than that, I've shared with you our thoughts, and from using the unit, that's what we have. So I presented what we had to say.
So district, you get two minutes for rebuttal.
Right. All I would say is that the sales in the area support the valuation between the 135 and the 146. Because if you look at the sales, you have a sale of 130, 135, and 134 change. It's almost 135. The 146 is the value for the end units that we showed in our equity grid. But she is given evidence that says, hey, listen, I'm right next to the office and I don't get all the amenities of that side window like everybody else. And I would agree. I would say it's something less than an end unit valuation. But if you look at other valuations for for interior units, those are selling at 130, 134, and 135. So my suggestion is that you go somewhere in the middle between those two. 135 and 146.
Okay, ma'am, you get 1 minute to close. This is the last time to speak.
Yeah, more footage. So I'm assuming my other half just asked, the difference between us and 112 is the square footage?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, no, we concede that we've got the extra square footage. So no, that's fine. We just don't have the, I've been in a lot of the upper end units, and they are very nice and they have a fantastic view. And we don't have it from our front patio, from our front porch. We don't have a side window. All we have is our back patio. So I can't, except for the square footage, I really can't compare us to the two units above us, because I've been in them and they are beautiful.
Okay, so now the district gets 1 minute for their closing.
I would say that the property owners brought evidence that's viable to her market value. One of the things that we did not talk about was that she purchased this at 18 for 120. So that's kind of a floor. Market values have increased in that area. There's been sales of interior units. The interior unit sales are 130, 134, and 135 respectively. I'm looking at a figure there of 135. When you compare that with in-unit valuations at 146, hers is not as good. I'm saying that you should be between those two numbers.
Okay. All right, so ma'am, now the appraisal review board gets 5 minutes to deliberate and come up with our answer.
136.
Okay.
I'm closer to the 135 area because sales of the other interior units are, plus she's actually in a worse situation because she got a door right next door that goes into the office. So there's people in and out. The back patio may be private, I'm sure, but I think the front issue and being so close to the parking lot and people coming in and out to the other, as opposed to the other interior units. So I'm closer to the one, somewhere around the 135.
I said 136.
I'm good with,
I'd be good with,
yeah.
I prefer the 135. It's like, oh my gosh, this has to be with all the, like everything Kathy's already said. I don't have to restate.
I was thinking 140, but I'm certainly happy with 136.
I'm good. Ramona, can you go?
135 is good for me.
Okay, so I make a motion based upon what we've heard today, on account number 60897, that taking into consideration any other issues that might affect the valuation of this property. So I believe that we adjust the price down for 2020 to 135,000 even.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. You'll receive a document in the mail confirming this.
Okay, I appreciate your time and your consideration. I thank you.
Take a survey.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy, what's the number?
135.
The account number?
No, the number you,
Oh,
you
135,000
proposed.
even. Steven. Mike, is that your deal? Is it still acting up?
What's that?
Remember how, maybe it wasn't with you, yeah, it was with you, like 2 weeks ago, that, your fire was like, like you get in there and your second and third pages wouldn't come up or something, I don't know exactly what was happening.
Yeah, they wig out sometimes. Yeah, they wig out.
But it's not doing it every single time.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It just happens at the same time.
I know, well, then this morning mine was, but if, we just don't need his to be wigging out, because it's a dead, you can't prove your point.
Do we have anybody on there?
Hello? Yes, this is me.
Sometimes I think I ought to weigh 500 pounds.
I know,
I'm
there's
good.
always, there's always food in here.
I gained too much weight.
They're getting one in person from the car now.
Sure, let's do that.
What do we have?
Yes,
One in person,
okay.
One in person? There's a person here?
yes. I don't know how
Yes.
many you're supposed to be. Let's see. 10 o'clock.
Awesome, thank you.
She's got 3 here, but we only have one in person so far.
There's 3 for Ken.
Four.
3. Huh?
Oh, it's like 3. Wait a minute.
No, there's 4 on the
4, there's
sheet,
the
but
next
there's
page.
only 3 on the system.
Oh,
And there's only 1 at the door.
and the other 2 are on calls?
Don't know yet.
Oh, they haven't called in?
Not yet. They got another 6 minutes.
Which is the one that's here?
I don't know.
Oh.
Do you have anybody out front?
Yeah, they're bringing one person in now for an in-person.
Cool.
We're just waiting.
Charlie, when is it supposed to rain for us?
Friday,
I hope soon. What, Friday?
Friday.
Is that storm that's out there?
The one that's down at Hispaniola.
Is that where it is?
Yeah.
Is it coming up this way?
Supposed to. We'll see.
As long as it stays small.
A lot of rain will be really.
Well, Never Right Nelson said it was just going to be a depression, so it'll probably be a Cat 4. Yeah, we gotta start backing. That guy is absolutely worthless. Ramona, you know that when I worked for IBM, IBM sold the
What?
National Weather Service some of the biggest, most expensive computers we had that we made. And they still can't predict the weather for tomorrow.
I know. Kind of sad.
It's page 1270.
Here, Carl?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay, we have some trivia to go through.
Okay.
There'll be a couple of questions along the way.
All right.
Follow along with us for a while. We're opening a hearing on case ID 2020-1270. account 8818032. You all set back there? Hello?
Oh, yeah, we're going, yeah.
Okay. This hearing is being recorded. We are the appraisal review board that will be hearing your protest today. The appraisal review board is spread out around here, and we have one on Zoom.
All right. I represent the district, sir. Okay. And your name is?
My name is Mike Soto.
Mike, nice to meet
Yes, sir.
We do not work for the appraisal district. We are appointed to perform an independent review of your protest. At the end of the hearing, you may complete a survey regarding your experience. Survey may be completed using the survey form and emailed to pted.communications@cpa.texas.gov or online at surveymonkey.com/r/surveyarb. Survey is voluntary, but we do appreciate. You also have the right to appeal our decision. Appeal information will be provided to you with our determination. In accordance with Tax Code Section 4145H, all written material that has not been provided must be provided at this time. Do we have all of your evidence? Very good, thank you. The ARB members who are considering the protest have not communicated with anyone about the protest and are signing an affidavit to that effect. I, Charles Powers, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 4166F.
Kathy?
I, Kathy Hoffman, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 41.66F.
I, Cindy Duck, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 41.66F.
I, Robert Dayton, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 41.66F.
I, Ramona LeBlanc, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 41.66F and am signing to that effect, and I'm physically located in Texas.
Ramona's signature. I also am located in Texas.
All testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath.
I do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony I shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct. Carl Masson Jr.
Thank you.
And my name is Michael Soto. I do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
So do you hold a license, appraiser's license?
I do not.
Thank you. You have in front of you a chart. It's glued to the table that shows how the hearing procedure will go.
Okay.
You get to choose whether you go first or whether Mike goes first.
I'll let Mike do it first.
Okay.
We're in case 1270, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. The subject property is one that's over here in Boardwalk. It is actual account address is 133 Reserve Lane. This was a property that transacted last year, but we don't have the sales price of the subject. The subject is all right. I'm just going to use this apparently. You can see on the pictometry that it's built in that reserve area, reserve St. Charles Bay area. It's a commensurate in classification like the other subject properties. Has 1397 on the first floor and 666 on the second floor of square footage. Currently have an appraised value of $694,190. The comp sales grid, I believe the things under protest are market value and values unequal compared with other properties. Is that correct? Sure it is. Yes. Oh, it's just median level of appraisal. So it's not necessarily market value, although market value is relevant to the discussion. So I'll just briefly go through that. These are other sales in the market, in the other area, in the area that have sold, and the sales are as such: 680, 761, 500, 798,870, and 585. If you look at the median equity value or median value for those sales that are presented, when appropriately adjusted for the subject for both size and effective age and the individual amenities, docks, decks, porches, garages, things of that sort, you see that there's a median value that's indicated at 698, 867, which supports the valuation that we have on the subject property at 694. Again, the property sold this last year. We do not have the sales price, and therefore we're using other comparable sales to adjust for this for the subject property's market value. So market value is related to equity because you can't have an inaccurate appraised market value and be equitable as well. I mean, you have to have, they kind of go hand in hand. But let's look at equity and see what it tells us. On equity, you would see that there is a warranted change, meaning that here's something that you see of other houses, not necessarily sales, but they're other houses, and how are they appraised compared with the subject property? Our own evidence is indicating that there's a warranted change. 667,936 is the median value associated with the subject property when appropriately adjusted. 667,936. You can see that the comps for the equity that was presented, we have 4 comps, and those are all 7 SS pluses, just like the subject. They range in size and square footages, and those are appropriately adjusted for the elements and the effective ages involved. Respectively, comp number 1 renders a value of 698, comp number 2 renders a value of 651 and change. Comp number 3 renders a value of 666 and change. Comp number 4 renders a value of 669 and change. When you look at that median equity value, the median equity value again purports that value of 667,936. And again, from a market value standpoint, the value is well supported. It's supported by other comparable sales. You can see that the subject property owner indicated that he didn't want to talk about that. That was not under protest. He just talked about equity. But in equity, in all fairness, our own evidence points to 667,936. Attached on the backside of that, you have the sales ratio report for the entire neighborhood, and you can see that we're at 106 overall for the weighted mean. And that's what we have as far as evidence. That's it.
Okay, so Carl, now you have 2 minutes to cross-examine and then 5 minutes to present.
Okay. All right, on the class unit price adjustment on comp sales, class unit price adjustments, then a code 7SS plus and 7SS minus and 7SS asterisk. And I've looked up or tried to look up what this code was, and I can't find it anywhere. Can you explain that to me?
Sure, sir. That's a great question. So we have general classifications numbers from 1 to 7. 1 is a poor home, 7 is an excellent home. SS stands for siding or frame home, wood frame home. The difference between a minus, a regular, and a plus is just a minor, it's a subclass change within that class. So here's a class 7 SS. You can have a plus, a regular, or a minus, and those are differences that you have there. So the asterisk is actually just 7 SS. And it stands for standard siding, which is a wood frame home, and class 7 would be an excellent class.
So where square foot pricing justification on this adjustment, especially I want to talk about comp number 2 because you got 111,468.
Are you talking about the sales grid or the equity grid,
The
sir?
sales grid?
Oh,
Is that under protest?
my lack of understanding of what I was at the time, but market value is a part of this bill. I want to include market value in that at this time if I can.
Well, I'll answer your question, but they can only rule on what you protested, but I'll answer your question. Comp number 2, you want to know about what exactly?
What the difference is the $100,000 $468 or $111,468 increase in adjustment on that
It's a
property.
great question. So what it looks at the difference between the subject and the comp. So hypothetically, if the comp were less of a class, so just for a gross illustration, if it was a 7 and this was a 4, then you would have to bring the comp to make it comparable to the subject. In the exact reverse, if you had the subject as a 4 and the comp was a 7, you would have to do a negative adjustment to bring it down to make it equal with the subject. So that's where the adjustment's coming from.
I get it, but they're both class 7 SS and it's built by the same builder and the same exterior. So I don't understand where the adjustment's coming from.
One's a 7SS minus and one's a 7SS plus. There's a difference there for sure.
We'll randomly make that $111,000 adjustment. That's pretty huge. I think that needs to be substantiated.
Well, it wasn't random, and I just answered it. There's a difference in the classification.
Same builder, same building materials, same exteriors.
There's minor fits and finishes that are different. That's been purported over the years in this subdivision by different owners to this board.
Move on.
Okay.
That's one of my major sticking points on this. Second would be on the land valuation. And you've got $250,000 across the board on all these comps except for number 2, the sales comps. And the lot sizes are different. And comp number 8, which is a more preferable. So, I mean, that's increased by 43,000, or it's actually brought down to my level by 43,000. I think it should be a little bit more, but I don't understand the valuation on that because we have custom lots such as 135, which is reserve lane, which is comp 1. Let's see. Comp 3 is a custom lot, which is larger, and 123 and price per square foot on lot adjustments, as you can see on other tab that I give. It's kind of what I was looking at for all these, including costs for those on those separate lot costs, which can be found in the pink. For example, canal lot.
Are we here, sir? We can pull it up here.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and pull it up, Scott.
And just so you know, sir, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds
Okay,
left
thank you.
for this part.
Okay. Reserve lane. 2 boats and a large dock. So, adjusting those down, and you can see where I've come up with what I believe it is, and again, made an adjustment for premium custom home lots. Mine's just a standard track home lot. Yeah, there you go.
Where do you want to look at, sir? Right there?
Yes, sir. Comp 1, that one has larger dock to the. So
can go to the events.
Wait, 30 seconds.
Gotcha. With revised mean value of 642, 698 for the total package, and just on lot, I came up with 172, 450 with the adjustments. So I would like to see that.
Which one?
Well, 642, 698 as a total. And I believe my lot's worth 172, 450 instead of the 250,000 that was being assessed to me.
All right. So the district has.
Your opinion of value is 642, 698? Is that what I understand?
Yes.
Your opinion of the value of your
Yes, sir.
is 642, 698?
Total.
Oh.
Land improvement.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Time. One of the things that is not under protest is market value. We talked about market value, and does grid supports the market value at the 698, supports the value that we have on the subject at 694. Having said that, so did your property sell this last year, sir? Okay, what did you pay for it?
I'd like to keep that confidential.
So in that statement, the subject property owner is affirming that he purchased the property. Typically, what we've historically seen is that a person would not divulge that information in their best interest to actually lower that valuation. So what we're going to do is use other sales. Okay, so he has disqualified his own sale. And what I would say about that is historically what we've seen for that is because they've paid more. Having said that, subject property market value is not under protest. It's only equity. We're only talking about equally treated. But for the record, since we're not using a sale on 133 that is the subject, and the subject property owner has not said what that is, this was 135, 137 sold. One sold for $680, and the other one sold for $798,000. Those are two viable sales of people that we know are actual transactions. So does the market value support it? Yes. Having said that, I'm going to turn the page to equity. I have already stated for the record that equity, from an equity standpoint, we have found other 7SSs, and we're looking at the land value for each of these portions. These are 7S, the first three are 7SS pluses, exactly like the subject. The land values are identical. They're being equally treated at $250,000. Even with my own evidence, when compared with the subject, I am affirming to this board that there's a warranted change of 667. From a market value standpoint, I'm going to purport that value is well supported at 694 by the sales that we have at 698. And because the subject property owner is not telling you what that sale is, there's a high likelihood that he paid more, or the subject property owner paid more than what the subject is actually currently on the appraisal roll for. The only thing under protest is equity. If you look across the board, you're looking at 250, 250, 250. Those are all on the same land value. You can see that we're all pulling 7SS pluses. We're trying to stay within some modicum of reason of the size, and we're making appropriate adjustments where there is adjustments to be made. Having said that, our own evidence is purporting a value of 667. That's all I got.
Okay, so now, Carl, you've got 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Okay. When I filed the protest, I'm not an appraiser. I don't do this every day. I'm a homeowner. Maybe I don't understand market value, equity, confidence, or whatever you're talking about. I'm able to at this time. So with that being said, I'm just trying to make my case here based on the information that you provided. I'm not a realtor. I don't get comps and all this other stuff. It's not accessible to me that easily. So I'm trying to do the best I can here, and I'm trying to save myself some money, as would you. I really don't understand the valuations, because you're talking about 137 Reserve Lane, which on the sales comp grid, that was the reserve sales office. And you're talking about the price of $798. Of course, it's got a lot more square footage, but it has a lot of good upgrades in it since it was the sales office. Floorings and tinted finishes, so that substantiates that $798 sales price. And there probably should be adjustments on that. And with this 7SS Plus at 23,080 as an increase, I don't know if that's correct, but based on market value, I think I should be around 642 to 650 range. The total package.
Okay. All right, now the district. The district gets their 1 minute closing.
In closing, what I'd say is the subject market value is not under protest, it's only the equity under protest. It's a situation that we run into often, that we know that the property transacted, the subject property owner is not indicating what he sold, what he purchased it for. People that paid less are coming in here most often, in my historical experience, they're saying, hey, Mike, you have me on for $250, I paid $235, there's my closing statement. And they're actually saving themselves some money. The property owner said that he wanted to save himself money. The reality is that's probably not the case. Having said that, market value is not under protest. It's only equity. Even in our own equity grid, appropriately adjusted, we're seeing land values across the board. All the other elements are appropriately adjusted. Our value supports the 667, no lower than that.
All right, so Carl, you get your 1 minute closing.
Okay. Again, I'm not a trader. I don't understand, the technical term between market value and equity. And when I protested this, apparently I wrote down the wrong thing. So that's just what it is, I guess, and that's what we're going by. So if we do that, I mean, let's least of all pay attention to the land value. And it can't be ignored that all these lots are $250,000, and most all of them are larger than mine and are on custom lots. And that shouldn't be ignored. The price per square foot adjustments. I mean, if you don't got me at 250, I believe we should be somewhere around 172 to 175 on the lot itself. And custom lot.
Okay, so now the appraisal review board gets 5 minutes to discuss.
Lowering it to 936 is obvious, because that's where the equity grid says.
I have a question though, for Mike. Are the day lots and the canal lots, I remember we went through this last year, were they not all carried the same amount, 250?
I can look at them. I believe the bay lots are different than the canal lots. We can look at an example of each if you'd like.
No, I'm fine with, that's just a question I have.
Yeah, I believe they're different.
I think
Yeah.
that, I agree with Charlie.
I want to ask a question. The lot right next door to him, it's number 88180033. Can we see what the square footage is on that property, please?
5,750.
Okay,
It's on Mike's comp equity grid is comp number 2.
It's on a lot value, yeah.
oh, okay, sorry.
No, that's all right.
All of these on this side are a lot value. They're just 250. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit bigger or lower. They're just on a lot value because that's what the marketplace has said that they're worth.
Comp 2 is a very good comp.
Well, it's the same, so, yeah.
It's
250.
right next door.
That'd be 651 and whatever. Right?
That's comp.
Is that the one you're looking at?
Comp 2, yeah.
Yeah. Comp 1,
No, come to.
Comp 2 is
On
Same.
his equity grid, Ramona,
comp equity grid, comp 2.
oh, I went somewhere else, sorry.
135 Reserve Lane.
Yeah, I see it.
Got it?
Yep. I think we should adjust it down to the equitable level of 667, 930.
and then I just, because something else, I didn't hear, so,
You said 60, 67, 930 is what you said.
yes, oh, I'm sorry, Mike, what I was talking about, so is his, like, is his not on the water? His is on the water, right, on that picture?
It's on the snap. Yeah.
Okay, and is comp number 2, is it on the, in that next door?
Yes, ma'am.
It's right next door.
What about comp number 1?
It's right next door on the other side.
So, I mean, it's been compared to other houses that were on the canal.
Yeah.
Right, okay, right. So I'm ready to make a motion at 667, 940. Anything different?
Make it 930. We usually round down.
I agree, 930.
930, yes. Okay, so based upon what I've heard today on account number 881-8032, taking into consideration the appraisal ratio exceeding the median level of the appraisal, I make a motion that we lower the total value of the property to the 2020 value for the property to $667,930.
Second.
In favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 667, 930. Carl,
Okay.
you'll get a document that shows that. And the hearing is closed.
All right, I appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you for participating.
Thank you, sir.
I'll see you outside.
Thank you,
Y'all
sir.
email me. Stuff on that, is that correct?
Oh, it will come in the mail.
Yeah, it comes in the mail.
Come in snail mail.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And if you would fill out a survey, please.
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate you, Michelle.
Yes, sir.
Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
More coffee in there.
I know, we could have still been talking.
Hard to believe you didn't take advantage of that.
Would you like me to next time, Scott? I think my hearing must be going bad or something. I swear,
Mine already is, so.
I heard, it's like, I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, I swear I heard this, but it's like, okay, guess not.
We have another in person?
I don't know, there's nobody waiting in the waiting room here. I
Mike,
mean,
was that you? that-
Virtual-
I
virtual
thought
waiting,
that
no.
had done.
Nobody's waiting?
No.
If they haven't called in, they're past their calling time. All right?
Yes.
be in person though.
Oh,
Okay, there's, the only other one is, an affidavit that they're having trouble sending it through the portal, sending their evidence through the portal. They started working on it yesterday, and they
Oh my God.
having trouble doing it. So what's her name, Beth?
Yes.
And Beth has told them, look, just email it to me. And they're working on that now, and she asked if we could put it to the end of the day. And I said, yes, because they started working on it yesterday through the portal, and it isn't working.
Okay.
But they started yesterday working on it for today, so that's a conscious effort. What's with the portal?
No problem. There's limitations on the amount. Who knows? I mean, it could be trouble on our side. It could be trouble on their side.
How many bits?
I'll have to look, but I know that there's a limitation.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's all kinds of things that could go wrong in the interim.
And there's nothing else for this morning.
Alrighty.
So we're done till 1:30?
We are recessed till 1:30.
There's
All right.
another in-person didn't come in, I guess. Let me go check on that just to make sure. I know there's nobody in the waiting room on the Zoom. Yes, you are done until this afternoon.
So are we gonna remain with this up till
No,
then?
close it,
We're
turn
gonna
it
close-
off, and then
Turn it off, okay.
turn it off, and then we'll.
Bye.
all right.
See you later.